He looked me straight in the eyes and said it as if he were asking for the salt. "We have no room for you." I smiled, nodded, and left without a word, which he didn't know. The next morning he would lose the house because half of it belonged to me. Before I continue, do not forget to like this video, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe so you do not miss stories like this. It all started like this. I moved out with 2 old suitcases, a folded blanket from my previous room, and a framed photo of my late wife, Anna. The day I gave my son, Jonas, the $180,000 from the sale of my small business, I didn't hesitate for a second. "This is for your future," I said. He had just married Maria and they were looking for a 4-bedroom house in a suburb near Hanover. The bank wouldn't give them full credit, so I stitched in. Maria hugged me as if we were in a furniture store commercial and said, "We'll never forget this, love. You'll always have a place with us." Jonas kissed me on the cheek and promised I would never have to lift a finger again. The house was modern, cool, all white, with an echo in every room, gray floors, and a kitchen that felt like an exhibition, as if no one had ever burned an egg there. My room was downstairs, the guest room with no closet, a double bed, and a small bathroom, but no shower. Still, I said nothing. I was happy to hear people in the house again in the morning. For the first few days, Jonas made coffee. Maria showed me how to use the Wi-Fi thermostat, but got annoyed when I asked for help. Once we had dinner together. In the second week, I started noticing things. Passive-aggressive comments. Maria laughed with friends and said, "He lives with 2 children and an old man who doesn't know how to use the smart home system." Jonas complained when I asked if I could put a small workbench in the laundry room. Then came small changes. They put a lock on the top refrigerator. Maria said it was because of her special diet. They brought the router into the office. I didn't have Netflix for 3 days. One night I heard Maria talking on the phone in the kitchen. "She's nice, but we need our own lives." That's not how it works. I remained silent, continued cooking, folding towels, and cleaning the kitchen. I gave them space. I smiled when Maria said she wanted to convert the downstairs study into a nursery, but then I heard it. One morning on my way to the kitchen for tea, I heard Jonas's voice. "He won't leave if we stay nice. We have to throw him out without any arguments." Maria's answer was, "He won't give up his share unless he feels uncomfortable. Make him feel bad, then it goes away on its own." I stood still, staring at the wallpaper I had chosen just days ago. My son, my only son, planned to drive me out of the house for a nursery, for more space, for comfort. That night, I cooked Jonas's favorite hearty stew. No one came down. Maria said she had already eaten. Jonas mumbled something about work and stayed upstairs. I sat alone, ate slowly, and thought about everything I had done for him. Football games, fixing his bike, hospital trips, tutoring for the entrance exam. Still have all the old photos of our camping trips in a shoebox that I always take with me. And now I was an obstacle, a problem. The next morning while I was washing strawberries, Maria came in with her arms crossed. "Dear," she said, "we think it's time for you to find something of your own where you'll be more comfortable." Jonas came a minute later drinking coffee as if nothing had happened. "There's no room for you here, Dad. You have to go," he said without looking at me. I dried my hands with a towel, turned to them both and smiled. No fake smile, just calm. "Okay," I said. "I'm going tonight." Maria was speechless. Jonas nodded as if he had completed a towel. "Thank you, Dad," he said and turned away. I went to my room and packed my clothes, Anna's photo, an unfinished book, and a red folder that I always hid in my suitcase. It was the title deed to the house. My name was next to Jonas's. I owned 49% of it. I called a taxi and left without looking back. But I knew something they didn't know. This house was not only her dream, but also her time bomb, and I had already ignited it. The taxi ride to the motel was quiet. I sat in the back, clutching the red folder like a newborn. I held it so tightly that one corner left an imprint in my hand. I had booked the room a week ago, not because I thought I would need it, but because something inside me said, "Prepare yourself." The motel was clean but desolate. Old carpet, a flickering lamp that shook at the slightest touch, and a smell of fried onions that hung in the walls. I paid cash for 3 nights and then asked that no one come to clean. I didn't want anyone to see how little I had. That night I lay on the hard bed, the red folder pressed to my chest like a shield, the television off, my eyes fixed on the ceiling. I wasn't angry, not even surprised. It just happened. The next morning I printed 5 copies of the title deed at the motel. 1 for me, 1 for a lawyer, 3 more in case I needed to prove I still had power. I was on my second cup of coffee when the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but then a voice said, "Answer the phone," Mr. Carsten asked. "My name is Bernd. I work at Norddeutsche Privatkredite. You are registered as a co-owner of a property at Grauparkstrasse 124. My heart rate slowed down. "Yes," I answered cautiously. "There is a problem?" Bernd cleared his throat. "There is a delay in payment. Her son, Mr. Jonas Carsten, took out a business loan of Doch using the house as collateral. He hasn't paid for months. We sent 3 reminders. He is in arrears. If the loan is not paid, foreclosure will begin on Friday." I stayed calm, asked questions, and gathered the necessary information. Jonas had lent money to a marketing company that went bankrupt after 3 months. Maria either didn't know or pretended not to. Both turned my stomach. Bernd was polite but clear. I had 3 options: pay the loan, allow foreclosure, or give up my share and allow the sale. I asked him to send me the documents by email. When the documents arrived, I printed them out. I took the same blue pen I had used to sign Jonas's first school form and slowly wrote my name on each line. Then I scanned the documents and sent them back. Bernd called an hour later to confirm receipt. "The foreclosure proceedings continue," he said. "Thank you, Mr. Carsten." I said nothing, hung up, turned off the phone, and sat still. Jonas would soon experience what it was like to be thrown out without warning. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post anything. I didn't cry. I didn't call my brother. I didn't let it out in the church. I just sat in that hotel room and listened to the silence I hadn't felt in years. Later, I walked 2 blocks to a small store and bought peanut butter, cookies, instant coffee, and a small bottle of wine. That night, I toasted myself. Not out of revenge, not because I had won, but because I finally understood that they no longer saw me as part of their family. It was time to treat myself like someone worth it. The next morning, I received a message from Jonas. "Did you do anything with the house? We received a strange letter from a lender." I didn't answer. 3 hours later, another one. A notice stuck to the door. "Call me." I ignored it. At 3:17 p.m., Maria tried. "Dear, please, we are confused. Tell us what's going on." I turned off the cell phone, not out of cruelty, but to remain calm. Because if I heard one more plea from the woman who wanted to erase me, I might forget that silence is sometimes the most powerful weapon. The foreclosure notice came sooner than I expected. Less than 48 hours after the form was signed, the sheriff's department posted a bright orange notice on the door of the home on Gray Park Street at 24 Acre. I didn't see it myself, but I didn't have to. Maria posted desperately in the neighborhood Facebook group. "Urgent, our house is part of a scam. If anyone knows of any foreclosure attorneys, please send me information." The irony made me laugh for the first time in days. I sat on the motel bed, drinking coffee from a styrofoam cup, and silently watched as everything fell apart for her. People commented, former colleagues, neighbors, even Dennis, a college friend of Jonas's. "What happened? Do you need help? I thought you were fine." Maria answered like a politician, never concrete, only hints. "Someone we trusted betrays us, someone who should have protected us." That's when the fun stopped, because within hours I was getting messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. My cousin Carl, a churchman, the brother of my late wife Anna. Everyone asked the same thing: "Bernd, what's wrong?" Maria had portrayed everything as if I had betrayed her, as if I wanted to destroy her life out of anger or revenge. But she didn't mention the money I gave them, how they pushed me out, or the loan Jonas secretly took out, using the house as collateral. No, she played the victim role. Jonas was worse. He posted an old photo of him when he was 5, the 2 of us fishing by a lake. The caption, "It hurts when the people who raised you turn their backs on you." No names, no tags, just manipulation. But I knew exactly who it was intended for. Family, acquaintances, outsiders. Everyone would fill the gaps with guilt, shame, and assumptions. They wiped me out in real time. I thought about defending myself, uploading the title deed, the letter of credit, the messages. But then I remembered something my father always said: "Don't fight it with people who roll around in the dirt. You'll just get dirty, and they'll enjoy it." So I remained silent until the call came. It was a friendly man from the sheriff's office, Mr. Ritter. "Mr. Carsten," he said, "just a courtesy request. The official eviction will take place on Grauparkstrasse on Friday at 10 a.m. You don't have to appear because you have signed everything. We just wanted to inform you." I thanked him and asked nothing further. But that night I couldn't sleep. I imagined everything. Jonas at the door, sleepless in sweatpants. Maria crying on the sidewalk, her things in garbage bags on the lawn. Still, I felt no joy, only silence within me. They had made every decision that brought them there. On Friday, I stayed at the motel, microwaved some oatmeal, and waited. At 10:42 a.m., my phone vibrated. Call without number, voicemail. I heard it once, then again. Jonas's voice was quiet and angry. I don't know what you did, but they kicked us out. It's over. You destroyed us, Dad. I hope you are happy. That's it. No apology, no regrets, just blame. As if I had accidentally knocked something over, even though they had set the trap themselves. At noon, a long message came from Maria. Dear, if your goal was to hurt us, then congratulations, you're throwing us out. I hope you sleep well tonight. You destroyed your family. The word family stays with me all day long, as if it belonged only to them, as if I had no right to distance myself from people who treated me like a doormat. I turned off my phone, went to the corner store, and bought a notebook. On the first page I wrote, Today, you have lost everything. With this, I found my peace. I sat down on the bed, turned to the next page, and continued writing. But they didn't stay quiet for long. 2 days after the eviction, Maria posted a long Instagram story, 10 images, pastel background, ornate font. Title, When the Family Betrays You. Each picture told her version well planned. They claimed they had opened their home to a sad, widowed father out of love and generosity, only to experience fraud and legal manipulation. She called it elder abuse. The comments were harsh. Strangers who didn't know me wrote, Some parents want to control their children forever. That's why boundaries are needed. You are strong, Maria. I send you love. I scrolled further until I saw Jonas's comment. You did everything right. You protected our future. He destroyed them. I stared at it for a long time, not because it was blowing, but because I couldn't believe how easily he could lie. He used to cry when I scolded him for breaking a glass, and now he's painting me as a monster in front of strangers on the internet. Nevertheless, I remained silent. I didn't answer, but I wasn't going to sit back and do nothing. The next day there was a knock at the motel door. I didn't move immediately. I've experienced enough to know that waiting a moment can protect you. After a second knock, I opened the door a crack. It was a woman about 50 who seemed familiar to me. Bernd Carsten, she asked. I'm sure you don't remember me. I'm Doris. I work for the city's housing authority. I saw a few posts and wanted to hear your version. I blinked, then nodded. We sat in the motel lobby with lukewarm coffee and the hum of a vending machine in the background. I told everything, every euro, every dinner, every disrespect I endured in silence. She didn't take notes, she just listened. I'm not a reporter, she said. I'm tired of good people being destroyed by influencers with matching sofas. Before she left, she gave me her card. If you need help finding something stable, call. I have contacts. It was the first time in weeks that I felt kindness. That night, I opened my email account. There was a message with the subject interview request, Hanover Local Magazine. I closed the laptop without reading any further. I wasn't ready to tell my story according to their rules, not yet. But I forwarded the email to myself with a new subject. Don't forget it. That same week, Maria posted a TikTok video. She stood in front of a moving van, her mascara running, her baby bump visible, and held a cardboard sign. My father-in-law kicked me out of my house. The video had almost 80,000 views in 2 days. News channels were tagged in the comments. A woman wanted to start a GoFundMe campaign. Then I received a message from the pastor of my old church. Bernd, is everything okay? Can I call you? That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I retrieved the title deed, the bank statement showing my $180,000 transfer, Bernd's email confirming the foreclosure, and screenshots of Maria's message. When he's gone, we can plan the nursery. I sent everything to the pastor, my cousins, and the church men's group. I didn't write anything about it, just the evidence. 5 minutes later, my nephew replied, "Oh, they all lied to us." Then silence. No one defended her. No one said anything, but I knew they had seen it. I knew that bond was broken. That night, a new message came from Jonas. Please call me. I just want to talk. 10 minutes later, another. I know it got ugly, but you're still my dad. I didn't reply, not because I hated him, but because some bridges don't burn all at once. They crumble slowly every time someone you love treats you like garbage. I stared at the phone for a long time, then blocked it and put it in the drawer. I lay down on the motel bed and whispered into the silence. Yes, I'm still your dad, but I'm not your father anymore. For the first time in a long time, I slept for 8 hours straight. It all started with a bouquet of flowers. White lilies like the ones I used to bring back from the supermarket as a teenager when I wanted to apologize for had been hit by a car or failed an exam. They were standing by the car door in a cheap glass jar with a note. "Let's talk, please." No name, just that. I didn't touch them, didn't bring them in, left them out all night. By morning, they were wilted. The receptionist asked if he should throw them away. I said yes. That afternoon, Jonas came unannounced. He knocked at 2 p.m. and said, "Dad, it's me. Can we talk?" I looked through the peephole for a long time. He looked tired, pale, like someone who hadn't slept either. Against my wits, I opened the door a crack. 5 minutes, I said. He nodded like a child getting a second chance. We sat at the small round table next to the window, each on a different side. I waited to see which version of him would emerge. In the end, it was the silent, sad one. "I messed up," he said. "I should have told you about the loan. I shouldn't have let Maria talk to you like that." I panicked. I remained silent. He added, as if that explained everything, "She's pregnant." We were scared. I looked at him. I really did. For a moment, I saw the child who cried when I went to work at night. But he wasn't that child anymore. He was a man who had pushed me out of my own investment and then painted me as a villain on social media. "I'm not here to argue," he said. "I just wanted to know if you'd be willing to sign a paper. Nothing serious, just something to help us get back with the bank." My stomach lurched. He hadn't changed. He didn't come in peace. He still thought I was a tool, a lever he could use when things got dire. "Show me," I said. He hesitated, then pulled out a manila folder and handed me the document. I read it once, then again. It wasn't a simple form, but a fake power of attorney with confusing legal jargon. It gave him limited rights to handle the foreclosure, but it also allowed access to accounts, including my retirement fund. I put the paper on the table. "Get out of here," I said. He blinked. "Dad, out!" He stood up slowly as if he thought one last sentence would change my mind. "We're losing the baby's future, Dad." I looked him straight in the eye. "You've already lost that future." He left without another word. I closed the door and stood there until my hands stopped shaking. After that, I called the front desk and asked for a different room, a different floor, a different hallway. They didn't ask why. I packed in 15 minutes and moved in before dinner. That night, I blocked Jonas's number not out of anger, but because I needed to protect the part of me that still wanted to believe him, that thought he was serious when he said he'd made mistakes. The next morning, I went to the housing authority with Doris's card in hand. She looked up from her desk and smiled, as if she'd been waiting for me. I said I wanted to move forward, not just away from them, but away from everything. She didn't say, "I'm proud of you," or "You're doing the right thing." She just slid a folder across the table to me. The cover read, "Coastal Housing Options for Seniors." On the first page was a 2-bedroom apartment near Wilhelmshaven with a veranda, ocean view, and a rent I could pay with my pension. "I'll create it." "That one," I said. That night, one last one arrived. Email from Maria. No emojis, no clutter, just a few direct words. "I don't know what to do now. We have nothing. I know you have me, but think of the baby." I stared at the screen for a long time. The words squeezed my chest. I closed the laptop, made tea, and watched the sunset from the motel parking lot. I didn't reply, not yet, because what I would do was not reply. It was a reckoning. No news for 3 days. Then on Sunday at 7:04 p.m. there was a knock. I was in my pajamas with half a cup of peppermint tea. I looked through the peephole. Maria, her hair more disheveled than usual. A baby wrapped in a pink blanket in her arms. A diaper bag slung over her shoulder like a peace offering. I didn't answer. "Love," she said softly. "I don't want to argue. We don't know what to do anymore. Jonas is devastated. They kicked us out of the apartment. We failed the credit check. Please, may I come in?" I opened the door a few centimeters. Her makeup was smudged and her eyes were swollen. The baby, a girl, moved slightly and let out a soft whimper. Maria rocked her gently. "Her name is Amelia," she whispered. "It belongs to you too. Don't leave us out." This hit me harder than I thought. I didn't know the baby's name. I didn't want to know. I opened the door and let her in. She entered slowly, as if unsure whether she was allowed. She looked around and smiled tiredly. "You still like it cool in the room, right?" I didn't answer. She carefully sat down on the edge of the bed, rocking Amelia in her arms. "We messed up," she said. "I said things I didn't mean. We were stressed and afraid." I nodded, not because I had forgiven her, but because I wanted her to continue speaking. "Jonas is too proud to admit it," she continued. "But he drowns, both of us. Our accounts are frozen. We owe over EUR 10,000 in fees and interest. Even our cell phones don't work anymore, and I don't know what to do." I watched her the whole time, her lower lip trembling, her blinking often as she spoke of her loneliness in a world out of control. And then I noticed it. The diaper bag still had the price tag. I stepped closer and saw the logo of B Baby, a designer brand from a catalog in the motel lobby. It cost over 900 euro. "This is new," I said, pointing at it. Maria hesitated. "A gift," she quickly said, "of a friend." I said nothing, just slowly stood up and went to the window. From there, I saw a rented car, a black SUV, not cheap, not run down, not like the car of someone in despair. "You came here to get something," I said. She flinched. "I'm here to ask for help," she replied. I didn't correct her. "Are you here to record something?" I turned around quickly. "Where is it?" She stood up. "What is this about? Your phone, your bag, whatever? I saw it in the side pocket when you sat down. Are you recording this?" She opened her mouth, then fell silent. "We just wanted evidence," she said quietly, "in case you twisted the story." I stared at it for a minute. "Get out of here," I said. "Love." I opened the door and pointed at the diaper bag. "Take your baby present and go." She didn't move, so I stepped closer, now furious. "Listen, Maria, let me be clear. I'm not your story, not your villain, and definitely not your ATM. Get out of my room before I call the police." She slowly picked Amelia up and held her tightly. "She's your granddaughter," she said. I didn't answer. "She's your daughter. Raise them better than you treat people." Maria walked out stiffly, got into the car, and was gone in seconds. I closed the door, locked it, and sat motionless on the bed for a long time. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear. It was adrenaline because I knew exactly what had happened. Maria had come to provoke me, to say something nasty on camera, something they could cut, edit, and upload to elicit sympathy. And I didn't give it to them. I remained calm, but it wasn't over. The next day, I went to court and filed for a restraining order. I submitted everything, the messages, their attempts at manipulation, the visit, even a screenshot of the price of the diaper bag. The court clerk wasn't surprised. "You're not the first," he said, "and you won't be the last." That night, I wrote a line in my notebook. They brought a baby to portray themselves as victims. I brought evidence. Then I turned the page and started a list. People I trust, those I don't, and to whom I owe nothing anymore. Because the next time they come, I'll be ready, and they won't see it coming. The order came 2 days later. A thick envelope with a court stamp slipped under the door like the last piece of a puzzle. I felt no victory, only preparation. The calm before a storm. Not out of fear, but because I had already boarded up the windows. I made 5 copies of the order, one for the motel, one for the police, one for Doris at the housing authority, one for myself, and one that I sent to Maria and Jonas's last address without a signature or letter. I just stuck a note on it. "Did you want something legal? Here it is." That night, I finally responded to Hanover Local's interview request. I didn't ask for money, didn't tell a story in my favor, but sent everything. The title deed, the receipt for the $180,000, the confirmation of the foreclosure, the message screenshots, and a photo of Maria's new diaper bag. The subject, if you want to talk, we'll talk." The editor called the next day, her voice high but friendly. "We believe you," she said. "Would you be willing to make this official?" I said yes, on one condition, a line from me at the beginning of the article. "This isn't revenge, this is clarity." The article appeared the following Sunday, 3 pages, titled, "When Help Becomes a Weapon, A Father's Story of Financial Betrayal." It didn't go viral immediately, it didn't crash any websites, but it made waves in Hanover's community. People weren't gossiping. They were seriously discussing real estate ethics, inheritance rights, the rights of adult children. My name came up, not as a monster or a victim, but as a person, someone erased and slowly becoming visible again. But the moment I knew something was changing came the following Friday. I was at a neighborhood cafe and saw Jonas alone at a corner table in a hoodie, his eyes fixed on his cup as if searching for his reflection in the foam. He didn't see me at first. I left, almost passed, but he raised his gaze. Our eyes met. He made no gesture, didn't greet me, didn't blink, just stared. And in that look, I understood everything. No regret, no shame, just distance, as if he were acknowledging that the bond between us no longer existed. I kept walking, didn't cry. That night, an email came from him with no subject, just a short text. I read the article. "I won't contact you again. I'm sorry you thought you had no other choice. I don't regret what I did. I'm sorry, I had to say something." I filed it away without a reply. The next morning, the motel manager brought a stack of forwarded letters. At the bottom was an envelope with the logo of a real estate agency and a note from Doris. "You're approved. The keys are waiting." I opened the paperwork for the apartment, a 2-bedroom, second-floor water view in a quiet complex in Wilhelmshaven for retirees and veterans. Move-in date, next Friday. The rent fit into my budget. I stared at the paper and realized I was no longer constantly looking around as if expecting an attack. Unknown numbers no longer frightened me. I no longer doubted whether I had the right to exist without apology. Names. That night I updated my will, crossing out Jonas's name and leaving everything to a local men's shelter, a literacy program, and the animal shelter where I used to volunteer. Then I wrote my lawyer clear instruction. If anyone doubts this, post everything publicly. I didn't wait for a reply. I knew he would take care of it. The last message came over the weekend from an unknown number, but I knew immediately who it was. Maria, just 4 words. "We've lost everything. Congratulations." I read it once and deleted it. I didn't reply, felt nothing. There was nothing more to say. That afternoon, I packed for the last time, not because I was fleeing, but because I had finally arrived. They had started it all by saying there was no room for me and proved that I was their place, never needed. The apartment was smaller than I thought, but full of light. The sun shone brightly through the white walls and reflected on the laminate flooring. I stood in the doorway for a full minute before entering, letting the silence envelop me like a breeze. No shouting from upstairs, no heavy footsteps, no feigned apologies, just space, my space. The movers were late, so I brought the most important things up first. My red folder, Anna's photo, and a small suitcase of clothes. The rest stayed in the car. I made tea with the old kettle that came with the apartment and went out onto the balcony. The sea wasn't visible, but I could hear it, and that was enough. That week, my phone didn't ring. I didn't open social media, didn't call anyone to explain anything, but instead unpacked boxes, filled the fridge with things I liked, and watered 2 plants I'd bought at a roadside market. On Wednesday, I went for a walk by the harbor. No one recognized me. No one looked at me strangely. I passed a bookstore, a pier, and a seafood restaurant where a woman my age was painting seashells on a folding table. She smiled and offered me one. "Pick one that calls to you," she said. I chose a blue one with silver edges. "Good choice," she said. "That one's for people who've just let go of something heavy." I thanked her and put the shell in my coat pocket. That night, I placed it on the kitchen counter next to my keys. I called it peace. Days passed, then a week, then 10 days, and slowly I found my rhythm. Coffee at 8, walk at 10, journal at 3 p.m. I signed up for an art class that met Tuesdays and Thursdays in the common room. The teacher, Walter, was a Bowden, wore suspenders, and told the worst jokes I'd ever heard. But by the second day, he already knew mine. One day he looked at my painting and said, "You paint like someone who's been through something heavy." I smiled because I never spoke about Jonas, neither with him nor with anyone in the class. The past was boxed up, and I had no desire to open the box again until the letter arrived. It was handwritten in Jonas's scrawling handwriting, stamped with a post office box near Hanover, and with no return address. Inside were only 4 lines. "I know I can't undo what I've done. I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to know I'm trying." I named her Amelia Linder Carsten. I read it twice, folded it, and put it in the drawer with the old, worthless title deed. I didn't cry, didn't smile, just let the words be there. That night, I walked barefoot along the beach and listened to the sea for over an hour. I thought of the girl who now bears my name, the man who was once my son, the boy who brought flowers from the neighbor's garden and cried when I said they were stolen. That boy no longer exists, but maybe somewhere they're building from all that he broken something better. That's what I decided. It's no longer my burden. I turned around and went home. The apartment lights glowed warmly, like soft gold. I snuggled up on the sofa with a blanket and a book. No drama, no emails to close, no family arguments to resolve. Just the quiet sound of someone who has decided to live in peace without asking permission. My phone vibrated once before I turned it off. Unknown number, no message. I let it ring and whispered the 5 words that have stayed with me since they were kicked out. "There's no room here either. Goodbye." To this day, I don't know what became of Jonas and Maria. Maybe they learned something. Maybe they didn't. I only know that I'm okay, and that's enough. That's it for today. What would you have done in my place? Write it in the comments. I love reading your thoughts, and if this story touched you, check out these other videos. You don't want to miss them.